I have a very good friend who's a wine connoisseur, like a real wine connoisseur. Like he has this big wine cellar in his home. You go in and it's filled with all this crazy wine, and he knows everything about wine. He can tell you what the good years were and where the vineyards were and where the things come out of. And he had a birthday. And so he invites me to this wine pairing dinner on his birthday. And it was great. The food was great. The wine was great. But it was so bizarre because they bring these flights of wine and then everyone tests the wine. And people are recording themselves doing this. They have little tape recorders. And they're talking about the tannins and the oaky this and the that. And then someone opens it. I think this one's corked. This one's corked. And they're testing. Yes, I believe this one's corked. And I'm like, this one's my favorite. I don't even understand what's going on here. And there was this one guy that was there that was being heralded as this big wine expert. And they would refer to him. Well, cut to years later, that guy gets arrested. And he winds up doing 10 years in jail for making fake wine. And there's a documentary on it.
Whoa.
The documentary is called Sour Grapes. And it's an amazing documentary.
I've seen it pop up now. I've got to watch it.
It's very, very interesting because it plays on this very strange thing that people have to want the rarest, most unique thing. And what this guy did was, he started buying wine. That was the first thing he did. He would go to these auctions. And, I don't know if you've ever seen any of those wine auctions, but they're super bizarre. Like, people are spending ungodly amounts of wine, of money on wine, like ancient bottles and very rare bottles. And so this guy's buying all this wine. So he is established as this connoisseur. And then what he's doing is he's going to his home and he's aging these labels and he's creating labels and he starts auctioning off. And I think, is it Sotheby's or Christie's? Someone's involved in this auction that kind of should know that this is bullshit. Like, they haven't checked. And so one man from one vineyard, who's this very famous family vineyard, sees bottles of his company's wine for sale. And he says, we never made a Magnum that year. We never made that bottle of wine. Like, that is not real. And that, was going for insane amounts of money. And so then they start doing an investigation. And they find out that this guy has made and sold thousands of bottles of fake old wine, including to the Koch brothers. And this is where he got fucked. This is where he sold the Koch brothers like millions of dollars worth of wine. And these guys are just super ballers with an unlimited amount of money. And they were buying like Lincoln's bottle of wine, like Thomas Jefferson's bottle, like that kind of crazy shit. And people are saying, nope, that's not even his handwriting. This is not real. So these guys they got duped. And so then they open the investigation and they find this guy's house and they find the bottles of wine. He was buying old bottles and recorking them and like making the labels dirty and doing all this different shit. But it's so interesting because one of the guys in the film is like, this was a bottle that he sold me was the legit. Because the guy was selling legit wine too. He's like, this one's legit. And they're drinking, you can tell. And this other guy comes on, let me try that? He's like, this is garbage. This wine's garbage. This is fake. It doesn't have the complexity. It doesn't have the robustness. It doesn't have the... And these other guys who are like also supposedly experts, they're like, I'm like, what are you guys tasting? What is going on here? Like, what is this weird thing that you're chasing that the difference is so subtle? It's not even the difference between Coke and Pepsi. It's so subtle. But yet it's the difference between a bottle of wine that's worth $50, $100, and 40,000. And no one knows. No one can tell. And this guy had, apparently, according to my friend, such a palate that he could experiment by taking these various much more inexpensive wines, combining them in very specific ratios, and recreate something that was very similar. And as long as you got it in this bottle, and as long as you looked at it, and it's like, oh, is it Bonjour Bourbon from 74? And you thought you were getting the real shit. And so then there's the placebo effect, right? You're tasting it and you're imagining it. This is rich, robust wine that very few people can appreciate. And then you're all appreciating this wine. Meanwhile, this guy's laughing his ass off because he made it in his fucking Century City house. I mean, he's like, it's fucking nuts.